3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Gavin McPherson, and welcome to Investory. I'm sorry, mate.
Hi, I'm Andrew Morello, and sorry. You can edit all this, can't you, later?
Yes, I am.
Make the bloopers reel.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be good bloopers reel.
I love it. I love this.
I know. All right, Rick.
Welcome to Property Investory, the podcast that goes behind the scenes of property investing stories. Here's your host, Tyrone Shum.
I'm very excited because this is the very first episode for Property Investory, and thank you for listening. Rather than bore you with why this podcast is so awesome, I'm going to give you a peep of what to expect and maybe a kind of playlist on what's going to be in the show. Also, I'll tell you how the show is made so you can get some real insight on what's involved to create these fantastic episodes. All right, let's start off with playlist number 1. Do not invite boring people to be on your show.
My name's Jan, and I've done an awful lot, not only in property investing, but I've been a teacher, I've been a barmaid, I've done just about everything in life.
Hey, my name's Steve McKnight. My claim to fame is that since May 1999, I've bought hundreds and hundreds of properties. I don't keep account of how many, but it'd be well over 500. It might be as high as 800.
My name is Jane Slacksmith. I was the first girl to work in underground coal mines. Another girl and I turned up at the same day at 2 different mines after they changed the laws back in 1989 to let women underground, and everyone went on strike. And I was like, oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Andrew Morello, winner of the first Australian Apprentice, head of business development at Yellow Brick Road, and serial property entrepreneur.
The purpose of this podcast is to be interesting. We want you to be interested in listening, and I want to be interesting when talking. At least I'll try. The Property Investory podcast is for those of you out there that love property investment, and I mean love it because every single person we have on the show also loves property investing. It is their means of living, and more often than not, their meaning of life.
The family that lived there before were actually hoarders. They had 5-6 cars in the backyard. There was a boat there. The house was in terrible condition.
If you want supersonic cars and boats and choppers and big houses and the rest of it, sure, you can just go and buy them, but there's a lot cleverer ways of doing it, kind of like renting or syndicated ownership or buying second-hand cars rather than brand new.
I'm the president of the Real Estate Buyers Agent Association, REBA, R-E-B-A-A for short. I've been the president for the last 2 years. I also serve as the chairman of the Buyers Agents Chapter for the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales.
Playlist number 2, Teach Everything. This podcast is not just for those of you with millions of dollars in a property portfolio. This podcast is for everyone with a passion for property investing. So, my job is to make sure that every guest that comes onto this show reveals exactly the who, what, when, and why their investment strategies work, so that knowledge is beamed straight from their mouth into your earbuds. And for you to apply that awesome newfound knowledge to your own stellar property investments. So, how does it all work? Well, let me explain. First, I invite a super awesome guest to come onto the show. I'm just following up with regards to the interview time that we're trying to schedule in for next week. Same time next Tuesday would be good if you can do.
How about you? Wednesday, I can make it 1:30 on Wednesday.
Yeah, actually, Wednesday 1:30 looks good for me. I'm free so far on that day. Yeah, let's do it Wednesday next week at 1:30.
Wednesday next week.
Okay, I'll send an invite to you. Thank you so much. Then I interview them and ask questions like who they are.
Well, my full name is Cate Bakos, but I go by Cate Bakos, and my business is Cate Bakos Property. I'm an advocate and I work in Melbourne. My licence is Victorian, and I love to chat all things property down here.
I was born in Japan, so I'm half Japanese. Born in Japan, moved here when I was 3, and then grew up in Sydney in the Lower North Shore.
And I'm dedicated to achieving my goals. And I think most successful people have written goals. And when I started the Property Club 23 years ago, my goal then was to create 90,000 millionaires.
From there, we move on to their property investment journey. Exactly how they went from some kid dreaming about owning a Porsche, or $1 million mansion, or running their own business to doing exactly those things, and then coming to me to talk about how wonderful their lives have become.
I never, ever thought I could have this kind of lifestyle if I look back 20 or 30 years into my kind of late teens and early 20s. I'd have no dream, and a purple Lamborghini downstairs and a boat on the harbour and all these kind of things. But the basis of everything is I make all my money from property. So even though I've got a business, the majority of my money I actually make from owning my own properties, and the properties increasing.
However, here at Property Investory, we understand that there are certain risks and dangers to property investing, and that in the blink of an eye, someone can go from a millionaire to nothing.
I guess the biggest mistake that we made was not securing and not getting enough legal advice on the type of security we had over the loan that we made to the developer. We ended up losing all of that money. And that was the worst possible thing because we'd taken years and years to develop that equity. We
discussed the pitfalls of investment, how to get back on your feet, and how you can learn from, I guess, almost fatal mistakes.
I tell people sometimes that I lost the GDP of a small African nation during the GFC, Tyrone. And that was because the shares kept going down and down. And luckily, I didn't. So I still always had properties, and my properties were really going well. Business was going great, but the shares was going down, and it was, I lost a lot of money.
But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. With every darkness, there is a light, and that light can sure be blinding at times.
And essentially, that was the aha moment, because then finally I connected with what I wanted to achieve in property investing. And then for the next 2 years, I essentially just executed his model and his plan.
There are immeasurable moments that our guests generally reveal to us that show the highs that come with the inevitable lows. From having a multi-million-dollar portfolio in your 20s, to helping thousands with your advice, or even realizing that you've been doing things the hard way your whole life. These moments are what we live for. Those times when everything simply clicks.
So I learned very quickly again that it's not about the number of properties you have, it's the quality of the portfolio. And it's how the portfolio performs as a whole in capital growth, in cash flow, rather than just focusing purely on just one facet of investing, which is cash flow.
It is truly special what we get to hear on this podcast. Now, in fear of sounding like an infomercial presenter, that's not all. Here at Property Investory, you get 2 podcasts for the price of 1. With every guest, we also take another look at the professional mindset.
I run up against this regularly, and I think concerned and well-meaning friends and family can possibly be something that can hold you back. And I remember having a chat to my dad, and he said, "Babe, you better be careful. One day you'll owe $1 million." And I thought, bugger, I better not tell him I already do. I think a lot of people hear the stories around what can go wrong.
The advice that led them to where they are today.
Maybe 3 things I can think of. 1 is maintain your integrity. Number 2, I think people are everything. So this is a relationship business, real estate. And so you need to seek out the people you need. And then the last thing I think is to believe in yourself.
And the strategies that built their portfolios and how it can help build yours.
There's no real difference between business and real estate if you can find a market, or as Robert Allen once said in a training, find hungry fish, which is find someone who wants what you want, create irresistible bait in the form of a really great offer, and then drop that into the market and you'll create a feeding frenzy.
So I'll end the first podcast here and let you know it's free to download and subscribe via iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast at any time. But don't delay. Start downloading new episodes now. Oh, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.